There were not enough words in the Britain language to describe how furious Guinevere was. She whirled on her feet and turned for Gawain and Percival, who had been at the back of the dais to guard the stairs. Gawain's face was nearly purple with anger, and although Percival could be perceived as calm, his jaw was clenched, and his hand gripped the pommel of the sword at his hip. "Go find Merlin," Guinevere hissed at them, "and find out who that man is. I want to know how he got past our guards." They nodded and raced off, a trail of guards hot on their heels. Guinevere sank into her chair, gripping the armrests with white knuckles. Constantine put a hand over hers, but she ignored it. They had been breached somehow, or someone had decided to perform a nasty and offensive prank, knowing what the Black Knight meant to Camelot. To her. Her mind raced. She wanted to leave, to find out what was happening. But she couldn't leave the dais. There would be enough gossip already, especially about how she'd lost her temper. As a woman, and queen, she had to keep her emotions in check. Anything too rash and she was considered too emotional and unfit to rule. And perhaps she was being rash. The man had technically done nothing wrong. But to show up unannounced for a royal tournament dressed in black armor, the colors Lancelot used to wear? Someone meant to offend Guinevere and send a message. And she would find out who and snuff them out before they could do anything further. Guinevere kept her eyes on the knight in black as the games began. He racked up points in the obstacle games, never missing a target. His ease and demeanor were just as Lancelot's had been. But Lancelot was dead. Or at least she had assumed. He had been older than Arthur and banished nearly 25 years ago. If he wasn't dead, he was close to it. He shouldn't be competing. Constantine growled under his breath as the knight in black was declared winner of the games, to the anger and frustration of the other knights competing. Lohengrin mumbled something to his brother Lirian, and Sir Ulrich stared hard at the knight, who still had yet to take off his helm. "No, he should not," said Guinevere with a glance to Anwell. He was watching the field, his face a mask, just as she taught him. But Guinevere could see the creases at his eyes and the fidgeting of his fingers. We were unfairly put on the spot. They should have stuck to the rules, no matter the unpopular choice it would have been. The people lived for excitement and drama like this. But their safety was most likely in danger. If they had been breached somehow, everything she and Arthur had worked so hard for would crumble. "Not just that," said Constantine, glaring, "but to wear the black armor? It's an insult to you and Anwell. And now my daughter, to taint her wedding day." Constantine shook his head and leaned back in his seat. It was an insult. Constantine was right. It was a humiliating insult that would put a dent in her reputation. And Anwell would suffer for it. The rumors that Lancelot had fathered her children instead of Arthur, no matter how illogical, as he had been banished years prior, had nearly cost her the throne and her children's lives. Thankfully, those rumors had been put to rest when they came out looking nearly identical to Arthur. Guinevere was pulled from her fury as Merlin arrived, along with the Lady of the Lake. Merlin, always calm, regarded the knight with more curiosity than anything. But the Lady of the Lake, Guinevere could have sworn she saw white-hot flames dancing in her pupils. Merlin leaned on the rail, watching closely as the jousting began, and the knight in black struck Ulrich's shield hard enough for his lance to split. Lady Vivian hovered behind Guinevere's chair, and Guinevere felt a radiating vibration in the wood beneath her feet. It was unnerving to be so close to her. Magic emanated from her, and it made Guinevere dizzy. Even the smell. Vivian smelled of clear water and an early spring morning. A pleasant smell on its own, but coming from Vivian, it was too much for Guinevere. "There is magic surrounding him," Lady Vivian whispered, and Guinevere tensed. "But he is not magic." "Who is he?" Guinevere demanded, turning around in her chair. The entire dais was looking at Lady Vivian now, but the priestess shook her head. He is but a simple human male, she said with a half-shrug of her shoulders. I do not know him. But what about the magic? Someone else is protecting him, Merlin pointed toward the knight. See there? Look at his shield. Lohengrin's lance hit dead center, but there are no markings, no scratches, no dents. Guinevere moved to stand from her chair, but she thought better of it and grabbed Anwil's hand, who had been listening intently. He needed to take control and lead. He's cheating. Call him on it and disqualify him. Anwil's eyes widened, but he nodded and stood at the railing. Yvonne hurriedly joined him and called out for Roland. Roland paused the joust to the confused murmurs of the crowd. Guinevere was again reminded of why she had picked Yvonne for Anwil. The young woman was built to rule, and she would be a steady shoulder for Anwil to lean on. Your Highnesses, Roland bowed his head as he turned his horse toward them. The Black Knight cheats, Yvonne called. He is using magic. A gasp echoed throughout the crowd, and Anwil held up his hands. Sir Black Knight, Anwil called, come you forward and remove your helm. You stand accused of cheating. The crowd hushed as the knight dismounted from his horse and walked over to stand in front of the dais. Instead of removing his helm, he removed the gauntlet from his right hand and tossed it on the ground in front of Anwil. There was a near immediate uproar from the crowd, and the other knights quickly moved on him, swords drawn. Guinevere leapt from her chair, but Constantine grabbed hold of her. Merlin raised his staff and slammed it on the ground. A booming bang erupted, and the crowd quieted. Anwil, breathing hard, gripped the railing with white knuckles. You dare challenge me on my wedding day? Guinevere's breath hitched in her throat, and the crowd angrily shouted at the Black Knight. Anwil could not fight him. The challenge was to the death. But why? Anwil had done nothing to prompt anyone to challenge him. Guinevere looked at Merlin. Do something, she hissed. But Merlin either did not hear her or ignored her. His eyes narrowed at the knight. Lady Vivian joined him at the dais as Yvonne spoke. Why do you wish to challenge my new husband, Sir Knight? Yvonne's cheeks flushed with anger. To see if he is worthy, came a gruff but muffled voice from inside his helm. Worthy, Anwil repeated. Worthy of what? King. Fury filled Guinevere's veins, and Constantine must have noticed because he clasped her waist. Guinevere had never been one to back down from a fight. She had never hesitated to protect her children either. If she needed to become a mother bear, then so be it. A fight will not determine that, Anwil replied. And I am afraid I shall only disappoint you. I am not the master swordsman my father was, if that is what you seek. I shall follow in my father's other footsteps, however, as a seeker of justice and compassion, a king who loves his people equally, no matter their status. Guinevere's heart swelled with pride. The cheers and whistles from the crowd threatened to pull tears from her eyes. Guinevere had worried for Anwil, knowing how his nerves had been in battle for him his whole life. They would see his compassion and empathy as weak, especially the kings and warlords. But Guinevere knew it to be his greatest strength. It had been Arthur's greatest strength too. King Elion of Northumbria stood to his feet on the smaller dais below. Sir Knight, he called, his mustache moving with his breath. I find it quite offensive that you wish to spoil this celebratory day with your foolish and uncalled-for challenge. I call for this man to be taken off the field, and the tournament to continue properly, forthwith. Argument broke out amongst the nobles. Lord Cerdic jumped to his feet, whirling on King Elion, but King Bors got in between them. Their shouts were muffled by the crowd. This is preposterous, Constantine growled, finally letting go of Guinevere. The rules of the challenge are clear, Cerdic's voice broke through the shouts. Of course he would jump at this opportunity. Anything to humiliate the Pendragons. The challenge is ridiculous. Denying a challenge is unworthy. Guinevere's mind was racing. She needed to handle this carefully. Mother, what do I do? Anwell whispered, breaking her from her thoughts. Guinevere's heart sank as she turned towards him. He looked so out of depth. But before she could say anything, Ariadne shoved her way to the railing. "I'll take your challenge," she yelled. "I'll champion for my brother." Welcome back. This week I'll be reviewing something truly special. Of Crowns and Legends by Chelsea Banning, here on the Bored Goddess Book Reviews. Welcome once more, fellow readers, to my humble library, where this week I am very privileged to review a fantastic author submission, The Arthurian Fantasy of Crowns and Legends by Chelsea Banning. Please remember that by liking and subscribing to my channel, you're helping me to continue uncovering awesome stories such as this, and to keep creating video book reviews for your enjoyment and entertainment. While you're at it, please feel free to toss a comment or two my way with thoughts on the books that I review, as well as things you'd be interested in seeing added to the videos. Or you can just say hi. By the way, stick around to the end of the video to learn more about my giveaway. Let me introduce Sir Quacks, Max's friend, and another of my esteemed ratings ducks. This avian genius possesses a unique advantage in the form of his loyal group of feathered companions, who assist him in collecting the most accurate data available. Through their tireless efforts, they collaborate to produce impeccable ratings, which I will share with you at the end of this review. Sir Quacks, are you prepared for another literary expedition? Then, off we go to a fascinating Arthurian adventure. This week, I'm reviewing an absolute delight of a story, which picks up where the legendary Arthurian tales left off. Of Crowns and Legends by the talented Chelsea Banning was an incredibly enjoyable read for me, and I am thrilled to have the opportunity to share it with all of you. Before we go further, I should note this book is intended for mature audiences, specifically older teens and adults, due to scenes of violence and sexual undertones. While these are crucial to the plot, and expertly written by the author, it is important that I mention this for readers who might be sensitive to these topics. Imagine having a legendary father like King Arthur. How do you live up to such an illustrious man, known for his bravery, chivalry, and leadership? It's a daunting task, especially when you've never even met him. You're left with nothing but stories and memories that fill you with admiration and love, but also with the constant pressure to measure up to this larger-than-life hero. For the twin children of the fallen monarch, this burden has been a lifelong reality. Anwell, the crown prince of Camelot, is destined to become king when he is of age. He is not a skilled swordsman, and is more comfortable in the library than on the throne, but he will never shy away from the duties that come with his birthright. On the other hand, Ariadne, his sister, is expected to make a noble marriage, but her ultimate desire is to take up the sword and bear the arms of a knight of the Round Table, serving as a shield for her brother's reign. Regrettably, though her late father may have been open to granting women such opportunities, societal norms of this time dictate that women adhere to more conventional roles, especially a royal princess. As the twins stand in the void left by their father's death, they face a daunting question. Can they rise to the occasion and become the people they were meant to be? One thing is certain, the fate of Britain rests in their hands. This was another phenomenal submission by an author to my website. And wow, I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to read such a captivating book. It's not often I come across a retelling of a classic legend that transforms it into something entirely unique. Everyone knows the basic story of King Arthur, even though the man himself may never have existed. His story of chivalry, bravery, and honor has been passed down through the ages, and continues to inspire and enthrall us to this day. When we think of the quintessential knight in shining armor, it's Arthur who immediately springs to mind, a hero pulling off impossible feats with effortless swagger. And let's not forget the timeless love story between Arthur and Guinevere, the enchanting magic of Avalon, and the sage wisdom and power of Merlin. When I laid eyes on this book, I was uncertain of what to anticipate. Naturally, I was hoping for something extraordinary. But, let's face it, putting a fresh spin on the legendary tale of King Arthur is no easy feat. However, to my utter amazement, this book exceeded my expectations. From the moment I opened its pages, I was captivated. There was no gradual introduction, no easing into the story. I was instantly plunged into a thrilling mystery from the very first chapter. The sheer power of this narrative kept me hooked, and what's more, it felt entirely organic. I loved the characters. Seriously, they were so well written, and I was so engrossed in the story. I felt as if I was watching a thrilling TV drama. The fact that not all the fighting was done with weapons was masterful. The courtly backstabbing, as well as the subtle and not so subtle power grabs had their "oh snap" moments, along with the occasional situations where you just had to sit back and exclaim, "Now that was a burn." This was a fun portrayal of a medieval royal court, but with the added bonus of magic. Each character had a very understandable and realistic reason as to their actions. So, while you might hate the baddie, you could at least get why they were being such annoying little pests. The world building was seriously spectacular. You could feel the pull of the forest, the call of the lake, and the magic of this beautiful land. Finally, the story was undeniably cohesive, with a remarkable consistency and an authentic sense of depth. Through the eyes of its characters, the reader is transported to medieval Britain and fully immersed in their thrilling adventures, both planned and unexpected. For me, there was nada I didn't love about this book. But take notice if you're a hardcore history fan. You will find some vast artistic license with the era, language, fashions, and societal framework. While for me, that just made it more interesting and engaging. If you are meticulous about historical accuracy, certain areas of this book might cause you to twitch. Also, while there were grammatical mistakes and misspellings, they did not detract from the reading for me. And I can't complain about the length. At 393 pages, this book is a good length for a weekend or holiday read. And if you're a lover of historical or Arthurian fantasy, grab it. You will not regret it. All right, Sir Quacks, it's that time again. Let's rate this awesome book. Are you ready to spill the beans to our viewers? Sir Quacks, my dude, you nailed it again. As I mentioned earlier, the talent showcased within these pages is nothing short of remarkable. The story is so interesting. The characters are amazing. And the world building is just beautiful. Sir Quacks and I were blown away, and we just had to give it our highest rating possible. 5 ducks. I have linked to the Amazon affiliate page for this book below. Please do check out this and Chelsea Banning's other incredible stories. Have you read of Crowns and Legends? I'd love to discuss it with you in the comments or my Discord, also linked below. I'm also on Instagram, Goodreads, Facebook, and X. The links are down there. Would you like to be part of the Goddessverse? Join in by sending me a coffee. The link is listed below. Every little bit helps me keep making my weekly videos. And I'll send a shout out to you here in one of my reviews. Wait a second, Board Goddess, what about that giveaway you talked about? We are less than 50 subscribers away from 200. And if I reach that number by September 30th, I'll be doing a random draw from my subscriber list. 2 lucky winners will receive either a cup or a t-shirt featuring my catchphrase along with some adorable original artwork. So please share the link to my channel and encourage others to subscribe. I can't wait to share these items as well as others from my upcoming store. More about that soon. And before another moment goes by, thank you to each of you who have become a part of my little gatherings. You make each and every video worthwhile. So guys, that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Adios till next Wednesday. May your day be epic and may awesomeness follow you like a puppy needing hugs. Bye all. There were not enough words. Okay, smacking myself. But to show up unannounced for a royal tournament. I know we're supposed to be serious, all serious face. I am a tree. I am a shrub. Now I am a shrug. To see you. No. Sir Knight, he called. His mustache?
Mustache.
I find it quite offensive. Offensive?
You got it.